Hey, welcome to the Relentless Positivity Podcast, and I'm really excited about this one today. We got a big time guest. She wouldn't say that, but I'm going to say that for her. Her name is Rhonda Britten. She's a renowned world life coach. She's an Emmy Award winner. She's a best-selling author. She's a founder of Fearless Living, and she's transformed countless lives. She's got groundbreaking work from overcoming fear and living authentically. Isn't that what we want in our lives? So she's also an expert at helping people break free from self-imposed limitations that we all have. And her personal journey of resilience is truly inspiring. And because, like the great Oprah Winfrey said about her, everyone needs fearless living. Rhonda, thanks for being on here.
Oh, you're welcome, Joe. I'm very excited to be here. I love positivity. I love
Um,
being relentlessly ourselves, right? Like
that's
being
it.
relentlessly authentic.
Man, not everyone on their website has a shout out from Oprah. I'm just saying. After this, you can get one from Jopra, and that'll be even
There,
better.
there you go. There you go. You're gonna be put. I'm gonna put you right next to Oprah. Right next to
Oh,
Oprah.
man, people get us confused all the time anyway, so that'll be good. So,
Yeah, yeah. I can see. I can see the similarity.
yeah, we see it. So, let's take it way back. Where did you grow up, and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Oh gosh. Well, I grew up in a little tiny town in Upper Michigan, which meant 365 inches of snow a year, which meant it was cold. And I grew up in a family that, well, let's say when I was young, I wanted to be a minister and I wanted to help people and I wanted to give people and I love God so much. And then this thing happened to me that I was like, God, I don't really like you too much right now. So I basically turned my back a little bit on the big guy because he gave too big of tests. And I don't know how other people feel, but sometimes your tests are too damn big.
Yeah,
And so what I'm referring to is the worst day of my life, which really encapsulates my whole growing up. And I like to say that the worst day of our lives, Joe, are actually the seeds for our destiny. So we can really start looking and transforming all those, the stories we tell ourselves, the bad stories, the repeat of how life isn't working out or how it hasn't worked out are actually the seeds for our greatness, are the seeds for our destiny. So what I'm referring to is when I was 14 years old and I grew up in this little tiny town with no, like two restaurants, the Douglas House Buffet Hotel restaurant and Big Boy, that's all we had. And it was Father's Day. My parents were in the middle of a getting divorced, middle of separation. And so my father was coming over to take us out to brunch, which was a big deal because there's five, three of us, three kids, two adults, five people. That's a lot of money back then. And so big deal that we're getting all dressed up. And so my dad comes to the back door, come on, come on, come on, because that's what dads do. Me and my mom are in her bedroom. She's putting on her blue eyeshadow, putting on her rose lips, buffing up her beehive hairdo. And my dad's yelling again, come on, come on, come on. My two sisters are fighting it out in our one bathroom. And me and my mom start walking out. My dad says he's got to get a coat from the car because it's now started to sprinkle a little bit. And as me, my mom, and my dad start walking out towards the car, my sister's still in the bathroom fighting it out. My dad says he's got to get the coat out of the trunk. So he opens his trunk. And I notice out of the corner of my eye that he is not grabbing a coat, but he grabbed a gun. And he starts yelling at my mother, who, this is your fault. This is your fault. You made me do this. You made me do this. And I start screaming, Dad, what are you doing? Dad, what you're doing? And with that, me screaming, stop, my dad, already my mother had one bullet in her. He already shot her once. He took that gun, cocked it again, and pointed it at me. And I was convinced I was next. He blinked, I blinked. He stared at me, I stared at him. It was like we were frozen with this gun in between us. And my mother, what I now know was her last breath, looked up and said, no, don't. And with that, my father realized that my mother was still alive and took that bullet intended for me and shot my mother a second time. And that second bullet went through my mother's abdomen, out her back, landed in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all I heard was, eh. And then my father cocked the gun a third time, put the barrel to his head, and fired. So, in a matter of 2 minutes, I watched my father murder my mother and commit suicide in front of me. Now, I don't know how other people would have responded, but this is how I responded. One, God, I don't like you very much because your tests are too big. Because that's really what I heard. Like the minute it's happening, the minute the bullets stopped flying, the first words I heard, the first thing I heard was, the phrase, you'll never be given a test that's too big for you, And I'm like, what? This is crazy. No, this is too big of a test. Okay. Thank you so much. Gotta go. Right. And But I blamed myself because I was the only one there that could have physically stopped it. So for the next 20 years, I wasn't allowed to be happy, right? Because you don't get to be happy if you watch your mother die and you don't do anything about it. Because I didn't kick my father in the shins. I didn't grab the gun. I didn't even jump in front of my mother, right? I did nothing heroic. So I was left with this feeling that it was my fault. And so for the next 20 years, I kind of lived in two lives, two worlds. And I think this is normal, Joe, for many people, maybe not having the event I did, but having the feeling that they're living two lives. One is an internal life, right? And one is an external, right? And the internal life I lived was low self-confidence, low self-esteem, lack of love, punishment, got to punish myself every day for not saving my mother. And the external one was, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I got a ride. I got a full ride to college. I'm fine. I kept up my grades. I'm fine. I'm fine. But all of that pretending in college introduced me to alcohol. And soon I became an alcoholic. I got 3 DUIs, spent a little time in jail when you get 3 DUIs, tried to kill myself 3 times. And that third suicide attempt, I realized I'm not very good at killing myself. And there's got to be a better way. And now, mind you, those 20 years that I was in this place, Joe, of internally feeling one way and externally pretending another, is I did therapy, I did workshops, I read books, I was an advocate to try to heal myself. But after that third suicide attempt, all that I'd done was helpful and it was interesting, it was great, but it didn't change who I was, it didn't change my life. So when I was at my house after that third suicide attempt, by the way, when you try to kill yourself 3 times, they do put you in a psychiatric ward for testing. And so I got tested, deemed not crazy, let go. And I remember sitting at home that first day and realizing that there has to be a better way and I have to start over. So I thought, what do you do? What do you do? I got to go back to kindergarten. So what do you do in kindergarten? You get a calendar with gold stars. And that's what I did, Joe. For 30 days, I gave myself a gold star for anything I did at all better. And I'm not talking big things. I'm talking about got angry and didn't break anything. I'm talking about had a drink and didn't get drunk. That's the level I was at. But at the end of those 30 days, I had a calendar full of stars and that gave me hope. So, my childhood, my turning 14 turned into a horrible 20s, part of 30s. And, finally I was able to quit having nightmares every night and turn my life around.
Man, the power of the gold stars. Who knew?
I got to tell you, man, you know what I'm saying? It's the gold stars, man. We don't give ourselves enough credit, right, Joe? We're so focused on what we're not doing right. We got to get better, got to fix it, got to get better. We don't spend it nearly enough time, which by the way, getting all that fixing is neither here nor there. You don't need fixing. What I became a huge advocate of and what I teach my students and my clients is acknowledge yourself, acknowledge yourself, acknowledge yourself. Because really, does beating yourself up really improve your life? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah. So, and there's power in little victories. Those little victories in there, those add up, right? If you just consistently getting those wins and those little victories, those little wins, hey, maybe I can do this. And it gives you that little confidence to keep on going and keep on going. So, you eventually break out of this. And where do you get to where, okay, I've made it through. I'm kind of on the other end of this. I would love to help other people. How does that process work?
Well, wow. So that's first of all, that's a decision you made, just like you just made a decision, right? You said, well, I've been doing it for myself. I've healed myself enough. I want to now share it with others. That's a decision you have to make. And I think for many people, myself included, people would tell me all the time, oh, you should you should blah, blah, blah. I was working for one of the first coaches ever, and he would always say to me, you're going to be a better coach than me. And Joe, I was like, I can't become a coach. Don't you hear about the alcoholism and the suicide attempts and the psychiatric ward and the DUIs? Didn't you hear that? And I absolutely believed that my past prevented me from teaching or coaching or giving, because how was I ever going to overcome that from the perception of the world, right? I did get 3 DUIs and I did go to jail and I did, kill myself. So who wants to follow that? Right. So I remember him telling me all the time, oh, you can do it. You can do it. Just like you're saying, like, well, how can other people do it? They want to do it. And if they're not doing it, there's somewhere inside of them that believes they still don't have a right to do it. So there has to be that moment where you make a decision, and like I said, he was my client and he kept telling me that I should be a coach and I would be better than him. And I would just look at him like he was crazy. So whenever you get a nudge, a compliment, a reassurance, you can do it in any way, shape, or form, write it all down, write every single one down. Because eventually that will start wearing on your self-deprecation, on your I can't do it, who am I to do it? And you will start having, the way of scales will change. And you'll start thinking maybe. You have to go to maybe first, right? Like maybe, could I do this? Maybe. And then, so that's one decision, maybe. And then from the maybe, you got to go, well, okay, I'm gonna do it. I don't know how to do it. And that's okay too, because there's lots of places to learn how to do it. Like I train coaches. I have a certification program. I train people to be coaches all day long. So, there's certification programs out there. There's schools to go out there to do the how. But besides the learning, Joe, besides the classes you can take and the workshops you can take and the books you can read and everything else you can do, there really does have to be that internal yes. And for most people, that conversation, yes, no, goes back and forth, and it can go back and forth for decades. So that decision has to be made, and then that decision has to become your guiding force rather than the doubt of who am I to do it? Well, if you've already made the decision, you're on the path to doing it. And I'll say one more thing briefly is I do believe that everything you've ever done in your entire life will be used for your ultimate destiny. So another great thing to do to prove to yourself that you're ready to take action is write down everything that you've overcome, everything that you've learned, every skill that you have. And you're going to write a big ass list. And that big ass list, again, is going to give you that nudge, like maybe, maybe, maybe. We all need people to believe in us. We all need people. We all need cheerleaders. We all need guides. We all need mentors to get us through that bridge of self-doubt. And once you have that, trust the decision rather than trusting your doubt about the decision.
Man, you just dropped a lot of nuggets right there. I hope people are paying attention. You might need to pause this, rewind, go back a little bit. One, I'd like to go back. If you get an email compliment, I started an email folder file. If I get a compliment, it's going in the file.
That's right. That's right.
When I'm having down days, I'm gonna look back. Hey, turns out I'm pretty awesome. Look at this. I can go back and I got the proof right here.
That's right.
And then, people that have been through hard, I guarantee you've done something hard in your life. I've talked to my day job is a fitness guy, right? So I train people and I train women. And I said, you carried a human being for 9 months inside you and gave birth. You can do anything, right? And they look back and I left home at 18 and never came back and all these different things. Like you can do hard things. And there's proof. Look back. And that's so important. And then another thing you talked about, people disqualifying themselves. It happens so often, but you're living evidence. You're most qualified to help the person you used to be. That's what you specialize in, right? So that's what you're qualified. You've walked that path. You're the one that knows the way. You can guide them along. So I think so many of us disqualify ourselves, and they need people like yourself to get them. Hey, I walked that path. I know the way. Follow me. So people just. Yeah. I think people just need to get those nuggets in there that you're dropping left and right.
Well, it's like I love how you say, follow me. It's like you have a flashlight. Right? Just like you said, write down, so I write down something we call acknowledgments. Today, I acknowledge myself for and acknowledge any, what I call stretch, risk, or dies. Any little movement forward, you give yourself acknowledgments for. I also keep every love note I've ever received, every email, every card, every letter. I mean, in my garage, I got boxes. And I also, before I became who I am today, do what I do today, I remember the birthday that was really the transformational birthday where I was making these changes, right? The beginning of that decision to decide. And for my birthday, and everybody can do it this year, for your birthday this year, instead of having, going somewhere and having a party, and again, you can have a party, but for the gift, this is what I want you to ask them for. And this is what I did. I asked everybody that I invited to my little gathering. I don't want any presents. What I want is a letter, a note about why I'm your friend, why you've chosen me to be friends with. Why me? Right? And I have to tell you, I received the most stunning letters. Because again, when we're in the midst of a transformation, we don't know that we are as fearless, just like you said, you birthed the baby, right? We do not remember when we're in the middle of the tunnel of change, we do not remember that we've been living in the light. We do not remember all the steps we've taken. We do not remember all the things we've overcome. All we're like is like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it, right? We don't remember all those things. So that's why the gold stars, that's why the acknowledgments, that's why keeping the love notes, right? That's why ask your friends, hey, don't give me a present. Instead, just tell me why I'm your friend. Tell me why, write me a letter so I can have it when I'm having a down day and I read it. And I still have every one of those letters in a special box underneath my bed. That just from those from, many years ago. But every time I read them, I'm like, oh, because I guarantee you, your friends and your fans and those that love you and those that don't even love you, but just work with you and like you, see you more magnificently than you see yourself in your downtime, right? When you're going through that tunnel. So you've got to keep shining the flashlight on all those moments for yourself so that you can find the flashlight and keep like, would you imagine a tunnel and you got some people behind you and you're like, oh my God, do I have the right to get all these people through the tunnel? Well, you're going to set yourself up because you know what? You set yourself up. You've set yourself up with acknowledgments. You set yourself up with love notes, right? You set yourself, right? You set up all these things, all these wins, all these gratitudes you've done, all the things you've done, and they're all in front of you. And you go, oh yeah, there it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. And they're like markers for you to keep going. Because when you're in the middle, after you make that decision, so first of all, there's this tunnel between should I do it to yes, I'm gonna, there's a tunnel. And then from the I'm gonna do it, you make the decision. I am gonna do it, right? I'm gonna start coaching, I'm gonna start teaching, I'm just gonna start opening my mouth and speaking up, maybe. Maybe that's the decision, right? Then there's the tunnel of when it's the first opportunity, right? When you right? When you first start speaking up, it's gonna be like you're gonna feel stupid and idiotic and crazy, but you spoke up, right? Or the first time you say to somebody, well, I'm training to be a coach, and they look at you and they kind of go, what, you? I mean, trust me, my sisters, okay, so I was giving a keynote to like 2,000 people, right? And one of my sisters, my younger sister came, and afterwards, they had a luncheon for me. And so my sister's sitting at one table and I'm sitting at another. And but the table's right next to me. So my sister's right there, right? And they're all like going, oh my God, you're Rhonda Britten's sister. Oh my God, you're Rhonda Britten's sister. And she goes, what's it like to be Rhonda Britten's sister? And you know what she does? She looks at him and she goes, she's my sister. Like she's not all that big deal to me. You know what I mean? She's just my sister, right? So the people that know you best, might be like my sister and be like, well, yeah, I mean, okay, well, all right, you're not all that much. I mean, whatever you got to find those advocates, right? You got to be your greatest advocate and you got to keep your advocates close, and you got to get those love notes and you got to get those acknowledgments because when you're doubting yourself, you pull those suckers out. And I don't care if it's every 5 minutes. I don't care if it's you carry one around with you. I don't care if you take a picture of them, put them on your phone in a folder and you read them during the day. I don't care what you have to do, right? Because you're fighting for your future. You're fighting for your destiny. You're fighting to make that decision come true. And you're the only one that can actually do it.
I'm stealing that idea. My birthday's in April. I'm gonna give people a heads up. You got about 6 months. Work on this thing. I want it double space. I want good.
You want longhand. You want it written in longhand, right? Right, right. So that it's like all like they have to force themselves. Like,
I want it written in calligraphy. I got standards here. So
I want this calligraphy. I want this font point size.
That's right. We got standards, people. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and into fear. That's kind of your go-to. That's because I think it holds so many of us back. So
yes.
Let's talking about fear. Kind of what is your definition of fear? How do you see fear?
Fear is the cause and effect that will stop you from taking action, but it's also the thing that perpetuates you having the negative self-talk, right? It's the beginning and the end. It becomes before and it comes the after. So fear is I'm just going to say something that might blow people's minds when they hear me say this. But fear is, one, it's just an emotion, right? It's just an emotion. And I have a fundamental belief that all emotions have a job, right? They all have a job. And so anger has a job, love has a job, fear has a job. And fear's job is to keep you safe. And in order to do that, and every emotion loves you, like fear loves you. Fear like totally loves you. Now, there's no getting rid of fear. Fear is part of our neurobiology. So there's no, like, if you don't take a class that says, never be afraid again, don't take that class. Don't take that class. That's BS, because they're literally saying they're going to give you a lobotomy. That's what they're saying, because the only way you can never fear again is, by the way, having a lobotomy, because just living your life on a daily basis, even if you're not a big risk taker, which, by the way, we're going to change that, by the way, is if you don't consider yourself a big risk taker, you're still walking around this world. And I think there's a difference between emotional fears and physical. Let me say the difference between emotional fears and physical fears. So our body, let me back up for a minute. Our body processes physical fears and emotional fears the same. So physical fears, people say, well, fear is good. I mean, what if I'm on a tall building? I go, yeah, that's your instincts to survive, your body to survive. Yes, we want those instincts. Yes, we want those physical fears, i.e., to keep us alive. I talk about emotional fears. The emotional fears are what happens every single day, all day long: fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of loss, fear of gain, fear of feeling stupid, fear of being foolish, right? Fear of looking like a loser. Fear of looking lazy, right? I could go on and on and on. So these fears are the things that we're trying to navigate around during our days, right? We avoid this person because whatever reason we tell ourselves they're mean, or they don't get me, or whatever, but it's a fear that we have that's having us avoid that person. So when we live a life that is driven to avoid our fears, to be ignited, to be triggered, we are going to live a very, very small life. Because in order to live in this world, in order to have a relationship in this world, in order to engage, in order to be a leader, in order to have a community, we're going to rub against people. And rubbing against people, all our fears are going to come up. We're going to get triggered. And what fearless living really is about is, how do you master your triggers? How do you see triggers for what they are? They're just opportunities for growth. That's all they are. And so most of us walk around this world avoiding, right? We avoid, I don't want to feel this feeling. It's one of the things that I say all the time is the feeling you're afraid to feel is running your life. So if you're trying to avoid a feeling, I don't want to feel rejected, I don't want to be selfish, I don't want to feel A, B, or C, then you are literally in that avoidance, shutting yourself down to live your destiny. You're shutting yourself down to live the life your soul intended. You're shutting yourself down from living your purpose. You're literally looking at life through the lens of avoidance rather than possibility, right? Rather than I am authentic. Because if you want your guiding force to be authentic, then there's no avoiding. Right? But most of us, and it changes over our lifetimes, right? We avoid this when we're 20s, then we avoid this when we're 25, we avoid this when we're 30, right? We grow, and so we're still avoiding. And the point is to basically, instead of avoid, say, bring it, bring it, bring it on, because I want to master this sucker. I'm going to master this sucker. And I'm going to live my full life, and I'm going to live the life my soul intended. I want to live it. Come on, trigger me up. Trigger me up.
There you
And
go.
right. And when we're willing to be triggered, we're willing to take risks. When we're not willing to be triggered, we're not willing to risk. And fear is that thing that whispers in your ear, that causes your body sensations to be activated, that is the cause of those thoughts crossing over. Because remember, it wants you to keep safe. And how does it keep you safe? How does our neurobiology work? How our neurobiology work is, if we have a problem in the present, we are wired to look in the past for a solution. Now, what's in the past? Well, may or may not be things that we want to repeat. But this is how fear thinks. Well, I've kept her alive. I'm amazing. I've kept her alive. If I just keep on this roll, look at her, she's alive. Fear doesn't care if you're happy. Fear doesn't care you live your purpose. Fear doesn't care if you're joyful. Fear could care less about those things. It's all it cares is about, she's alive, right? So it goes back into your past, tries to find a solution. That's why we repeat the patterns. You're dating the same guy, you're eating the same food, you're doing the same, right? Because it's like, oh, well, that kept her alive, right? So what we have to do is we actually have to disconnect our neurobiology and train it in a different way so that when we're in the present moment, we're actually creating a new pathway forward to create a new future forward. So we don't automatically go in the past for a solution. Instead, we're actually in the present moment, choosing in the present moment, which then will give us a new future. So the fear is our number one purpose is to keep you safe, to keep you alive, and it will do anything and everything, and it doesn't care what it is. And I want to say one more thing, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking too much. But I like to think that, if you think of fear, so I created something called the Wheel of Fear and the Wheel of Freedom. And I like to say that everybody has one core fear, like their core guttural fear. And that guttural fear, that core fear was hidden by the time you were 5. You don't even know what it is. I know you think you do, but you don't. And what fear does instead is it keeps you occupied. It distracts you. So, you procrastinate, you get overwhelmed, you get anxious, right? You beat yourself up, right? And these are the things that we think are our problems. Well, these aren't our problems. Those are fear responses. Those are just fear responses. So today I'm going to offer you a gift of a cure procrastination, right? So I'm going to give you something. It's going to be like, oh, I'm going to cure, Ron is going to give me something to cure procrastination. Yay! Right? Awesome. Okay, well, that's good. But fear doesn't care. And I'm going to explain this in the course. If you quit procrastinating, which again, totally able to do that, it'll just bring something else up for you to deal with because it doesn't want you to find your core fear. Because once you find the core fear, it's like you found the gold and you're no longer tricked. As long as it can keep the core fear hidden, you're trickable. So that's why when you feel like, I thought I solved this, and then something else pops up, it's because that core fear is going, oh, I don't care if she quits procrastinating. I'm going to give her something else to just distract her because it just wants to keep you safe and it's willing to do anything. Again, remember, fear doesn't care if you're happy. Does not care one bit.
It's got one job: keep you safe.
Keep you
And
safe.
I just had a mental image of fear just patting itself on the back because you're still alive. Like, job well done. This person's life is terrible, but they're still alive. Good job, self.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It doesn't care. It's like, I did my job. I'm amazing. I did my job. I'm amazing. Right? That's all it cares about. Because again, remember, love has a job. Compassion has a job, right? Anger has a job. Fear has a job. And so fear is really rocking out.
So how do you put fear and self-doubt? Where do those kind of intersect with your coaching?
Well, self-doubt is a fear response, right? And it's actually part of our human biology, right? It's part of, I'll say that this way. Self-doubt is part of our human experience. Because I want you to think of self-doubt as part of that tunnel, right? We don't normally have self-doubt if we're sitting on the couch eating Doritos, right? We're not having self-doubt. We're sitting on the couch doing Doritos and avoiding all stretch, risk, and dies. We have self-doubt when we are about or taking or about to take a new action or have a new thought. Even a new thought creates self-doubt sometimes. Having a new feeling, having a new perception. That's why cognitive dissonance, when we only look for evidence that proves our point of view, why it's so strong. Because as long as we have cognitive dissonance, I don't have to have self-doubt about my beliefs. I don't have to have self-doubts about what I think. I don't have to have self-doubts about who I am because this is what I believe and this is who I am. Well, you're way bigger than that small box you put yourself in, right? So that's the opportunity. Self-doubt comes up, and it's like a foot in a door, kind of keeping it open, going, well, come this way, come this way. So self-doubt is part and parcel of our human experience as we're moving through the tunnel of self-growth. And I'll say self-doubt and confidence. Confidence is something that must be honed and practiced and committed to on a daily basis. Confidence, you don't get confidence once and keep it. Your confidence is going to go up and down based on what you eat, right? You know that. We know, right? Based on what you eat, your confidence goes ups and downs, which is shocking but true because it changes your physiology. So what you eat, how you sleep, what you drink, all of those affect your self-confidence. Not only that, but what you say to yourself, what you think, who you hang around with. I mean, there's what you read, right? What you're taking in, all the input you're taking in. So that self-doubt is letting you know that you are in the point of expansion, learning, growing. And what we have done in this society is we have valued confidence over self-doubt, right? We worship the confident and we don't understand the glory and the gold of self-doubt, because self-doubt is what you're going to feel as you're walking through that tunnel with your little flashlight. And so it's not about, oh, I'm only going to take action when I'm inspired. I'm only going to take action when I'm confident. Good luck with that. As we all know in business and, in life, we've all heard the word consistency, right? Well, how are we consistent? We act in spite of self-doubt. So there's self-doubt, there's confidence. Those are two sides of the same coin, of course. And confidence is something that you have to cultivate every day. And if you do those acknowledgments I talked about earlier, your confidence will continue to increase.
There you go. There's your
Most of
proof.
us don't do it. Most of us don't do it. So then we go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you do acknowledgments every day, I'm telling you, your confidence will increase. Do it with your kids. You'll see a change in your kids within 3 days.
Wow. 3 days right there. You heard it right
Three
there.
days. That when you pick them up from school, instead of asking them how their day went, ask them, tell me 3 things that you did, that you took a little risk today, little shift, what did you learn? What'd you grow? Would you do it? And they're going to start looking for ways to grow. They're going to be starting to look for risks, because that's the whole point. Once you train yourself, instead of perceiving as safety and unsafe, which most of us walk around with that lens, and instead look, oh, where can I grow? Where can I risk? Then we're looking through a whole different set of lens. We have a different pair of glasses on. So we no longer become afraid of people not like us. We no longer become afraid of people who think differently than us. We don't become afraid of ABC. And we don't become afraid of us.
Yeah. So I'm sure people look at you and like, well, she's easy for her to say. She's not afraid of anything. So I know you're afraid. What are you afraid? What are your fears?
Well, like right now, I'll say I'm creating a new course, and I'm creating something for people who are coaches, therapists, wellness practitioners, and leaders, managers, people who want to have more of that coaching philosophy. And I'm creating a tool certification for, I've never shared my tools outside, my coaching tools, the things I train my coaches on. I've never shared those outside of my school, right? And I also have never shared, I'll just say that, some aspects of my tools and skills outside of my life coach certification program. And now I am creating something called the Coaching Code Daily that is going to be 5 to 10 minutes a day, that you're going to learn one thing on how to see through the eyes of a master coach, see how I see the world, learn the skills I use, give to my clients, give to my coaches, so that every single day you're not only becoming a better coach, you're becoming a better therapist, a better parent, a better partner, So I'm creating this. I don't know if anybody's going to want it. I don't know if people are going to be like, well, that's stupid, Rhonda. I don't know if people are going to be like, I know all of this, right? So whenever I create something, there's always, even though I'm like, this is great, doesn't matter if I think it's great. Because I mean, it's nice that I think, it's like great. And all the people around me like, this is great, of course, because they're fearless living people, right? But going to the bigger market and going to all coaches, all therapists, it's like, and all wellness practitioners, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants it.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, eighth grade, I had a mullet and I thought it was pretty awesome. Not maybe not the greatest, but I thought it was pretty awesome. The market would not have bought the mullet though. But yeah, it's a scary thing because I think the stuff's pretty good, but also you live a philosophy kind of like me. You ready, shoot, aim, right? You're gonna do
Yeah,
something the best you can. You're gonna put it out there and fix it as you go. Otherwise, you
that's right.
don't do anything.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So yeah, I'm not going to make all 365 days now. I'm going to make 25 days, right? And then I'm going to start putting it out, and I'm going to give a 7-day trial and see how many people, you know, buy it after the 7 days. They keep wanting it, right? And so then, you feel pressure, like, gotta make the 7 days really great, right? You gotta make those 7 days amazing, right? So, that's added, that's like, stop, 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 take the pressure off, take the pressure off, take the pressure off, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, anytime you're opening your heart and you're going, this is in my heart. This is what I was nudged to make. This is, this is my internal world coming into the, going to the outside. It feels very vulnerable, right? Because it's your little baby. It's right. It's like, oh my God, it's my little baby, right? And then you're going, here, world, are you going to eat my baby? Are you going to, love my baby? Are you going to hate my baby? And so we're exposing ourselves. But that's the point of life, right? We only feel excited and joyous when we're risking. We only feel truly loved when we're vulnerable. We only feel like we're on fire and living our purpose when we're taking chances. So fear is the thing that is stopping you from doing all of it. So fear is, it's like, that's it. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're stupid. It's not because your mother did this. It's not because my father killed my mother. None of those things. Those are just all distractions. And that's what I realized. Like, I never thought I was afraid. I never thought I was afraid. So the fact that I do fear is hysterical. But that was the humbling of it, right? It's like, oh, Rhonda, you're afraid. No, I'm not. Yeah, you kind of are. No, I'm not afraid of anything, right? Kind of are, Rhonda. I mean, that was humbling. That was like, what? I'm afraid? Because, I was one of those people that just drank her courage, right? I remember I'm alcoholic. I just drank to be courageous, right? But I didn't do amazing things when I was drunk, right? But it's all on the other side. And if you have the nudge, and this is what I know to be true, if you are listening right now, if you are watching right now, and if you're still here, then you have something that you want to birth, right? Your soul is nudging you to birth something. And so the only thing that's stopping you is not your education, not your spouse, not your kids, not your time constraints. It is literally the fear of, who would I be if I actually did this? Would I still be loved? Would I still be admired? What would so we're afraid of going through that self-doubt tunnel, right? But I promise you, because if you're listening right now, watching right now, if you're here with us right now, there is a nudge that you want to birth that is attempting to be birthed through you. So I ask you to what if you just said, yes, I'm willing every day. Yes, I'm willing to birth this thing that's attempting to be birthed. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm scared of bejeebers, but I'm going to do it. And just even say that, I'm willing to birth the thing that is moving through me. Just that alone. Just say the word, I'm willing. The willing is one of my secret formulas, my secret potions that I give my clients when they're in that self-doubt. Because if they just say, I'm willing, it takes the resistance down. It takes the cognitive dissonance down. It takes the fighting down. It's just willing. And you could even say, I'm willing to be willing one day to birth this thing. Just be willing to be willing to be willing to take the next step. The next step will present itself. You don't have to go looking for it. You don't have to struggle. Just be willing.
Keep that door open. Like you said, Eric, keep your foot in that door. Keep it
Keep that
open.
foot
When you're ready to
just
kick
keep
that
that
thing
foot.
in, you'll be
Just
ready.
keep that foot. Just keep that foot. Yeah.
So you've got a pretty awesome course that you help people with. And it's got an
Yes.
amazing name. I really like the name of it. Stretch, risk, or die. Tell us a little bit about that.
Stretch, risk, or die. It's one of my clients' very favorite tools. So, we've all heard the phrase, freedom is outside your comfort zone, right? Life is outside your comfort zone. Everything good is outside your comfort zone. Well, I want to help you build a bigger comfort zone, because what I believe is that what I want is, I want to be comfortable being myself everywhere, doing everything. So the bigger our comfort zone gets, the more comfortable we are everywhere. But in order to build a bigger comfort zone, we must stretch it. We must risk it. We must be willing to feel like we're going to die. So what you're going to get in this course is, it's 3 15-minute videos that should make you laugh, as well as show you how stretch, risk, and die, the tool itself. And then I give you tons of worksheets. So you have real things you can practice with. So there's relationship worksheets if that's what you want to work on. There's health worksheets if you want to work on that. Money, right? So there's all these different types of examples so that you can see how it works in action. And the point is as you take a stretch, risk, and die every day, that comfort zone is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And what you think is possible for you expands, 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 and expands. And what you're afraid of gets smaller, 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 right? So that's what we want to do. So Stretch Risk and Die, like I say, cures procrastination. If you've been sitting on something for a while, Stretch Risk and Die is going to show you why you've been sitting on it, because it's not, I guarantee, for the reasons you think. And I basically show you how to take any goal, any dream, any project, break it up into Stretch, Risk, and Dies, and I show you how to move through those. And then I also show you how fear stops you. Like there's a comfort zone. Around the comfort zone is a circle of fear, right? The wheel of fear. That's why you don't move into the stretch zone, even though it's easy, right? Because God forbid, you got to go through fear. So the stretch zone is, you can do it, you just haven't done it. The risk zone is, I don't know if I can do it. And the die zone is, I'll die if I do it, right? And the point is as you start seeing all these things that maybe you haven't been doing or avoiding doing or doing in pieces and bits are Stretch, Risk, and Dies, I share with you how to shift and move through that fear so that you can expand that comfort zone and become who you were born to be.
Man, there's always someone out there, everyone listening has somewhere, something they want to do, something they want to create, something they want to do. It sounds amazing. I know this is probably very expensive, probably 3 easy installments of $49.95. How much is this again?
I'm going to gift it to your
Oh,
listener. I'm going to gift it. I'm going to gift it. So you can go and, as my guest, you can go and just get under your belt Stretch, Risk, and Die. If you just have Stretch, Risk, and Die as a tool, I promise you, I teach this to companies. I actually did a big conference recently there was lots of different companies there. It was an association. So there's all the different types of companies. And one of the company's VPs contacted me and says, in every meeting we instead use cost benefits and stuff. We use Stretch, Risk, and Die. So all of our team members are trained in Stretch, Risk, and Die. And so when we're going around and coming up with ideas or action steps, we actually ask, is that a Stretch, Risk, or Die? So that it better gives us the context of why people aren't taking that action or why it keeps getting stuck or what's the problem, right? So Stretch, Risk, and Die is going to shift your perception, because if you're not willing to shift your perception, your life ain't going to change, right? So get the Stretch, Risk, and Die. It's my gift to you. It's 3 15-minute videos. Like I said, it has all the worksheets, got a little workbook. So you can start moving forward in whatever way you can to start moving in that true place that you belong and live the life your soul intended. Live the truth of who you are and live more authentically.
just that movement. If you've been stuck for a long time, if you can get any movement, man, that's magical.
Yeah, because it's like right, like a rock down the hill, right? You just got to get it over that first little hump and then it just starts rolling. So yeah, so go to fearlessliving.org/risk, fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK. Just put your name and email in. Yes, you're going to be on my email list afterwards. You can unsubscribe if you don't want to hear from me ever again. That's all right. But go get it. Go into our like a little school, and you're going to see the course right there waiting for you, and take it. It's 3 15-minute videos. Come on, watch it.
You got that
Like
45 minutes
5 minutes.
to change your life. Come on. 40,
Come on. Come
15 minutes for
on.
a bit. Come on. That is
Come on, Joe. Come
yeah.
on.
Why not? Why not?
Why not? The next
If
time
he's
you're eating that
waiving the
bag of Doritos.
49.95 easy installments, means free for you today just because you're a listener of this podcast. So where else can they find you? What's your Instagram, all that other good stuff? How
All
can
the things are at Rhonda Britten, RHONDA BRITTEN. So YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere is at Rhonda Britten, RHONDA BRITTEN. So you can find me all there. And I'm starting soon, hopefully soon. I'm starting to do a whole new thing on my YouTube channel coming up. So you'll be starting to see more videos. And of course, I'm going to be launching the Coaching Code Daily soon. So you'll be seeing that. And yeah, so this is, my commitment to people, my commitment to you, my commitment to myself is how do I support, what's the next thing I can do to support people to live the life their soul intended? And I've been doing this for 30 years. So clients always tell me what they need next. And so Become a Fearless You member. If you really want to take classes with me every month, I teach twice a month inside Fearless You, YOU, fearlessyou.com. Go there and join our membership and study with me twice a month. But again, go in right now to get the Stretch, Risk, and Die. That's the beginning of everything.
In case you're not a great speller, I'm going to put a link in there. You just click on it. You don't have to worry about spelling anything. We'll put that in there. So before we go, I know there's someone out here that I've been crippled by fear for years. I can't do any of this. What would you tell the person who's already told themselves, despite all you said today, they said, I can't do this? What would you tell that person?
I want you to come and listen to me very closely. Come in closer. I want you just to put your hand over your heart for a minute, and I want you to hear this. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. And fear is an illusion. Once you see through it, it has no power over you. Now, I know you've heard that before, but I'm going to show you exactly how in Stretch, Risk, and Die. So what I want you to hear is there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear.
Man, I'm about to go kick down some doors. Who's ready? Who's with me? Who's with me? Rhonda, this is so awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you for waiving the $49.95 threes, the installment fees, just for our listeners. You're amazing. You're doing great work out there. I see why Oprah is such a big fan.
You are so kind, Joe. I love your enthusiasm. You are such a gift. Thank you for having me. And if any way I can serve you and your peeps in the future, please call on me. And I'm excited for the future of you ahead and what your Stretch, Risk, or Dies are going to be.
Thank you. I'm going to take the course. I'm about to go on there right now and sign up. I don't want to pay the money later on, so I'm going to do it. So thank you for what you're doing out there. So if you're listening right now, please share this episode. We need to get rid of fear. People are being held back by fear left and right. And even if you don't do the course, if you just listen to this right here, you got a master course in getting rid of fear. Imagine what's in that Stretch, Risk, or Die. Who knows? You better go get it. So thanks so much for coming on. You got to share this episode, and we'll see you next week on the Relentless Positivity Podcast.